Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for my 2017 Oscar prediction video. Once again, the Oscars are getting closer, so it is time for me, as I did last year, to try and predict the winners in all 24 categories. Now, as far as the movies I have seen 7 of the 9 Best Picture nominees. The only 2 I have not seen are Arrival and Hell or High Water. I've also seen some of the other films in other categories, but not all of them. We will see if seeing a decent amount of the films helps me out or not. I guess we'll find out. One more quick note. I will not be spoiling any of the movies, even though I will be talking about some of the movies in several categories. So if there's a certain movie you want to see, I will not be giving away any key plot points, so you don't have to worry about that. So with all that being said, I will get started, and I will start uh, here with makeup and hairstyling. Always kind of an interesting category because it's the only category that only has 3 nominees instead of 5 or more in the case of Best Picture. And the nominees are often very random and very interesting, and this year is no exception. We have A Man Called Uwe, Star Trek Beyond, and Suicide Squad. Kind of interesting to see a film like Suicide Squad here, a film that people had mixed feelings about, but I am going to pick Star Trek Beyond as the winner. I remember when I saw that film, I said, this movie seems like the kind of movie that might win makeup at the Oscars, and here it is nominated. And also, the first Star Trek film in the reboot won this award a few years back, so I think it's a pretty safe bet. Although, really, almost anything can happen in this category, but I'm going to go with Star Trek Beyond. Now, I will go to live action short, and I will be saying these titles in English. I know they are listed in other languages on certain sites. So we have Enemies Within, The Railway Lady, Time Code, Sing, and Silent Nights. And it's notable that this is not the animated film Sing. This is a much different film. So I don't really know a lot about these categories. I obviously haven't seen any of the films, but I do try and look up the films and see what they're about, and also look at some of the ratings that people have given these films that have seen them, and try and pick based on these things. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm going to go with Enemies Within, and I really don't have a lot else to say about that category. Moving on to animated short, we have Blind Vaisha, I believe is how you say it, Borrowed Time, Parasiter and Cigarettes, Pearl and Piper. In this case, I do believe there's a front runner, which is Piper. The front runners don't always win in this category. Bear Story, I think, was a bit of a surprise last year, but this year I am going to go with the most popular film in the bunch, which is Piper. I think it's a pretty safe bet to win. I don't really see a great alternative, but once again, in these short categories, you never know. I will move on to animated feature. We have Kubo and the Two Strings, Moana, My Life as a Zucchini, The Red Turtle, and Zootopia. Now, this is kind of an interesting category. Zootopia is definitely the front runner, and I'm going to pick it. Usually the front runners win in this category, but Kubo and the Two Strings and Moana both have 2 nominations, while Zootopia only has 1, which sometimes means something, but I do think Zootopia is safe here and will win. But I do think Kubo and the Two Strings is a legitimate spoiler pick. I am going to go with Zootopia, however. Then next, I'm going to do the documentary categories. For documentary short, we have Extremis or Extremis, not sure which one on that, 4.1 Miles, Joe's Violin, Watani, My Homeland, and The White Helmets. And I'm going to go with The White Helmets. It sounded like something the Academy might go for by the plot description, and that's as good a reason as any, so I'm going with The White Helmets there. Moving on to documentary feature, we have Fire at Sea, I Am Not Your Negro, Life Animated, OJ Made in America, and 13th. This is a tough category for me. It seems like most people are going with OJ Made in America, but I am a little bit concerned about how long it is. And 13th is also the kind of subject matter that the Academy sometimes likes to go with. I'm tempted to pick 13th, but usually the favorite wins in this category. So I am going to go with OJ Made in America. But I'm not 100% on that, but I'm going to go with it. Next, I'm going to go to the 2 music categories. For original score, we have Jackie, La La Land, Lion, Moonlight, and Passengers in a surprise nomination. But this is one of the easiest categories, in my opinion, to predict. If La La Land does not win this award, I will be shocked. So I am going with La La Land in what I think is probably one of the 2 or 3 biggest locks of the night. Songs, a little bit more of an interesting category. We have Audition from La La Land, Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls, City of Stars from La La Land, The Empty Chair from Jim, the James Foley story, and How Far I'll Go from Moana. And I just have to say right off that these songs, are an improvement over last year. I didn't really care for any of the songs. I actually like a few of these songs. Now it's tempting to just automatically say City of Stars from La La Land will win, but I kind of fear with two La La Land songs in the category, they could cancel each other out, which could open things up for the traditional animated type ballad like How Far I'll Go, or even Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls. If you remember last year, Sam Smith won in a bit of a surprise, and it was the most popular of the songs, which would probably fit the profile of Can't Stop the Feeling. But all that being said, I am going to go with City of Stars from La La Land, but some strange things can happen in this category, so I wouldn't bet too much on it, but I will go with City of Stars here. But I'm a little skeptical. Next up, visual effects, a category that's always interesting. We have Deepwater Horizon, Doctor Strange, The Jungle Book, Kubo and the Two Strings, and Rogue One. What's interesting about this category is that none of the nominees are Best Picture nominees, which is kind of unusual. After Ex Machina's surprise win last year, I'm not discounting any of these movies. I'm really not. The Jungle Book seems like the front runner and the safe choice. But sometimes the Academy goes for the film that's the most different here, which could be Kubo and the Two Strings, being that it's an animated film, or even Deepwater Horizon, which has totally different effects from some of the other films. Really, I'm not ruling any of these out, but I am going to play it safe once again and go with Jungle Book. But once again, nothing here would really surprise me after what happened last year. I will do the two sound categories next. For sound editing, we have Arrival, Deepwater Horizon, Hacksaw Ridge, La La Land, and Sully. Now, this is kind of an interesting category. I think a lot of people are picking La La Land, just figuring it'll win. Mixing, editing, and editing, the sound awards often match up. I got kind of burned last year when I predicted two different movies in these categories, but maybe I never learned and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go with Hacksaw Ridge here, although I think Arrival is also a possibility. Musicals often win sound mixing, but usually do not win sound editing, so I'm not picking La La Land here. It's kind of a toss-up for me between Arrival and Hacksaw Ridge, but I'll go with the war movie in this case and go with Hacksaw Ridge. We'll see what happens. This can be a tricky category to predict. For sound mixing, we have Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, La La Land, Rogue One, and 13 Hours, and kind of a surprise nomination, I would say. But I do think La La Land will win sound mixing, and I have no real problem with that, although Arrival or Hacksaw Ridge do have a chance. But I'll go with La La Land. Costume design, we have Allied, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Florence Foster Jenkins, Jackie, and La La Land. Now, this is an interesting category. I see a lot of people picking La La Land, but I'm not, and I'll tell you why. Thinking back on La La Land, I really love the movie, but I can't remember for anything much about the costume design. And my guess is that neither can Oscar voters. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I'm going to go with Jackie. They don't always go with the movie with the most nominations in costume design. They often go for the most memorable costumes, and period pieces often have an edge here over contemporary costumes. So I am going to go with Jackie here. We'll see what happens. For production design, we have Arrival, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Hail Caesar, La La Land, and Passengers. Again, Passengers, very interesting. But I do think La La Land will win production design, and deservedly so. Although Fantastic Beasts is the kind of movie that can sometimes pull through in this category and could be a spoiler, maybe even a rival. But I do think it will be La La Land for production design. Moving on to film editing, one of my favorite categories, we have Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, La La Land, and Moonlight. Now, sometimes this award matches up with Best Picture, sometimes it doesn't. Again, I'm going to pick La La Land here, kind of by default, but I do think you have to watch out for Hacksaw Ridge. Sometimes the movie with the most noticeable or flashy editing wins. See Mad Max last year, and I do think Hacksaw Ridge has a legitimate shot here. But I am going to go with La La Land, which seems to be the safer pick. And they did have to put together all those dance sequences, and it was pretty flawless. So I'm going to go with La La Land for editing. Cinematography, another one of my favorite categories. We have Arrival, La La Land, Lion, Moonlight, and Silence. I think La La Land is going to win here. It wouldn't be my personal choice, but again, it seems like a safe bet because it's La La Land. I personally would pick either Lion or Silence here, which I personally thought had superior cinematography, but I am picking La La Land as the winner, as I am not the one voting in this category. For Best Foreign Language Film, we have A Man Called Uwe, I think is how you say it, The Salesman, Tana, Tony Erdmann, and Land of Mine. A lot of people seem to be picking Tony Erdmann or even A Man Called Uwe here, but I'm going with The Salesman, and I believe this is the same director that won for A Separation a few years back, and I just think that The Salesman is the safest bet here. I think Tony Erdmann, being a comedy and being as long as it is, may hurt it in this category, so I think The Salesman is a safe bet. This is a tough category that could probably go any of the three ways that I brought up. Getting into the big categories, as they call them now, even though they're all important in my opinion. For adapted screenplay, we have Arrival, Fences, Hidden Figures, Lion, and Moonlight. This is one of the hardest categories to call. I legitimately think 4 of these movies could win. I really don't think Arrival has a shot here. Fence is probably not either, although maybe a slight shot. But between Moonlight, Hidden Figures, and Lion, I really think this is a toss-up. I'm going to go with Moonlight because after I saw it, I felt like it would win adapted screenplay. You know, I've since seen 4 of these 5 films, but I'm going to stick with Moonlight. But this is a very tough category. I would not be shocked at all if Hidden Figures or Lion won this. But I'll stick with Moonlight. Original screenplay, we have Hell or High Water, La La Land, The Lobster, Manchester by the Sea, and 20th Century Women. Again, a lot of people are picking La La Land, but I actually don't think it will win this category. I think it's going to be Manchester by the Sea. The simple reason is that musicals, even when they win Best Picture, generally do not win screenplay awards. It has happened, but it is definitely somewhat rare. And it's a way to give Manchester by the Sea an award. It's the only award I have it predicted as winning. Sometimes they like to spread the wealth a little bit, and it just seems like a more conventionally written movie and the type of script the Oscars would go for. So I'm going to go for Manchester by the Sea. La La Land is a possibility if it just sweeps everything, which I don't think it's going to do, but we'll see what happens. The other 3 movies probably just along for the ride, in all honesty. On to the 2 supporting categories. For supporting actress, we have Viola Davis for Fences, Naomi Harris for Moonlight, Nicole Kidman for Lion, Octavia Spencer for Hidden Figures, and Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea. I actually saw all 5 of these performances, and I think Viola Davis's was the best. I think she should win and will win, although I will say, in my opinion, she was a leading actress, but based on the Academy rules, I have to go with where they placed her, and I would give her the win, and I really think she's pretty much a lock. I will say, though, that these ladies all did a great job, with a special mention to Naomi Harris, who would be my second choice. Supporting actors a little trickier. We have Mahershala Ali for Moonlight, Jeff Bridges for Hell or High Water, Lucas Hedges for Manchester by the Sea, Dev Patel for Lion, and Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals. I think this race is very close between Mahershala Ali for Moonlight and Dev Patel for Lion. I know Ali seems to be a slight favorite, but after seeing Lion, I just have a hunch about Dev Patel, and I'm going to go with Dev Patel. We'll see what happens. I'm not always great at picking upsets, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with Dev Patel. On to Best Director, we have Denis Villeneuve for Arrival, Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge, Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea, and Barry Jenkins for Moonlight. I have to say I'm glad to see Mel Gibson here. It's well deserved, but I think the winner, and rightfully so, will be Damien Chazelle for La La Land. I think he deserves it. I think he did a great job, and I think he will win as well. For Best Actress, we have Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, Natalie Portman for Jackie, Emma Stone for La La Land, and Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins. I've actually only seen 2 of these performances. I apologize for that. I did see Isabelle Huppert and Emma Stone. I believe one of these 2 will also be the winner. I personally would vote for Isabelle Huppert. I thought her performance was slightly stronger, but I believe the winner will be Emma Stone for La La Land. I think she's going to go along for the ride, and it's deserved. It wouldn't be a bad win, so I'm going to go with Emma Stone for La La Land. For Best Actor, we have Casey Affleck for Manchester by the Sea, Andrew Garfield for Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling for La La Land, Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic, and Denzel Washington for Fences. Again, I think this is a 2-person race. It's very close, I think, between Casey Affleck and Denzel Washington. I actually saw 4 of these performances. I would probably vote for Andrew Garfield if I had a vote. My second choice would be Denzel Washington, and I think he will be the winner. I am picking Denzel Washington for Fences. After I saw Fences, I said he would win the Oscar, and I'm sticking with that prediction. All good performances, though, the 4 that I saw in that category. And finally, that leaves me with Best Picture. We have 9 nominees this year, up from 8 last year. I really wish, though, that they'd either go back to 5 or just do 10. This 8, 9 stuff is driving me a little bit crazy, but whatever, the rules are the rules, and we have 9 nominees this year. So we have Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. I think this is La La Land all the way. It has the most nominations, which doesn't always mean a win, but generally for there to be kind of an upset, there has to be one alternative, and I think there's too many alternatives this year. I think there's some support for a lot of these films, but there's no strong second place for people to rally behind. Plus, I do think most people at least like La La Land, even if they don't love it. So I think La La Land is a safe bet to win Best Picture, and I'm fine with that. La La Land and Moonlight are probably pretty even for me for the best 2 films of the 7 that I saw. I thought Fences was really good, even if it's not a cinematic masterpiece. In terms of visuals, it had great dialogue. Hacksaw Ridge was a lot better than I expected, and Andrew Garfield was great. Hidden Figures was just very entertaining and likable. I really enjoyed Lion a lot, and Manchester by the Sea is actually probably my least favorite. I think it's a little overhyped, but it was still a good movie. But I really loved Moonlight and La La Land, and I am going with La La Land. I think it will win, and it will be a worthy Best Picture winner in my opinion. So that's it for my predictions for the 2017 Oscars. If you'd like down below, you could tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong with any of my analysis, and you can leave some of your picks down below as well as if you'd like to. That'll do it for this video. More coming up on this channel very soon. And as always, thank you guys very much for watching.